When you think of roses, what trait comes to mind? Is it their symbolism of romantic love, their representation of silence, or their rich, fragrant scent? Today, we are here to discuss another role of roses. Did you know that roses can kill? At a luxurious grand banquet, roses played the role of the Grim Reaper. The Roses of Heliogabalus, a seemingly magnificent piece, was painted by Victorian-era artist Lawrence Alma-Tadema in 1888. Viewing this painting, one can almost feel the intense aroma of roses coming forth, with petals fluttering down, engulfing everyone in a romantic downpour of flowers. However, beneath this romance lurks a chilling murder. Let us zoom into the painting and examine it closely. In this feast, the white leather cushions, couches, abundant fruits, and exquisite wine glasses are subtly visible, making the banquet intensely lively and delightful. However, the guests amidst the sea of flowers do not realize that they are about to suffocate to death, surrounded by the overwhelming scent and falling petals. This painting's story is derived from Historia Augusta. In the palace, a lavish banquet is held, but at the peak of the revelry, the tyrant attempts to shower the guests with thousands of bright, delicate rose petals falling from above. Many are tragically buried under the flowers, unable to escape, ultimately suffocating to death. The original text mentioned violets and other flowers, but the artist chose rose petals instead of violets, perhaps to emphasize the intense contrast between the guests on the brink of death and the pink floral rain falling from above, thereby highlighting the scene's beauty and brutality. Upon closer observation, we can see that the guests, who appear to be enjoying themselves, are actually struggling, confused, and at a loss, hinting at the tragic outcome already. In the bottom right corner of the painting, there is a woman not covered by flowers, hinting that danger is imminent. On closer inspection, her arm is wrapped with a snake-shaped bracelet, a symbol often associated with danger due to the venom commonly linked to snakes. Behind the marble columns, nobles in elaborate attire exhibit an air of enjoyment, as if watching a spectacular opera. Nearby, a figure dressed in leopard skin plays the allos. This figure symbolizes a Maenad, a follower of Dionysus, the god of wine. The statue in the distance represents Dionysus, the symbol of desire for the ancient Greeks, embodying emotional indulgence and hedonism. Where there is a feast, there he is. People writhed helplessly amidst a sea of flowers, while the high-ranking nobles with pleased expressions watched as if enjoying the most wonderful drama, enhanced by the sky of pink, chilling to the bone. So, who hosted this murderous party? It was the conspicuous Roman Emperor Elagabalus behind the marble columns. Why choose rose petals as a means of murder? The answer might seem ludicrous. He simply wanted to have some fun, like a mischievous child. Elagabalus, a fleeting young emperor of the Severan dynasty, was undoubtedly a little rascal. His debauchery was beyond shocking. For instance, he was bisexual, forcibly married a female priestess, enjoyed cross-dressing, and loved to adorn himself as a little princess. He would often stand naked at the palace gates, flaunting himself and soliciting passers-by. He also had numerous other antics that left the Romans astounded. For example, he would eat ostrich brains and chicken crests raw at banquets as exotic delicacies. He often released tigers to frighten his friends and servants for amusement. Large, wild parties and a life of debauchery were simply routine for him. Desecrating the divine, leading a corrupt life, and neglecting to govern the nation, he had long lost the people's heart and eventually died in a conspiracy. In the end, can you imagine that all these actions were just the doings of a minor? He died before he turned 20, but his reputation was so notorious that in Spanish, the name Elagabalus became synonymous with gluttony and greed. So why did the painter create such a painting that seems romantic but is actually full of deadly intent? From 1851 to 1901, under Queen Victoria's reign, Britain reached the pinnacle of its power and truly became the empire on which the sun never sets. However, hypocrisy was the real truth behind the era's moral facade. On the surface, society appeared splendid and conservative, but beneath this was a massive eruption of repression. The social system was in disarray, indulgent and marked by enormous disparities between the rich and the poor. The elite lived in excessive luxury, while the lower classes lived lives comparable to, or even worse than, animals. Tadema merely uses his art to subtly reveal the unstoppable nature of human desires, much like the flamboyant and luxurious banquet hosted by the young Roman emperor. People may easily be drawn to the so-called glamorous scene, but when they see beyond the surface to the true facts, they will discover its dark and sinister aspects.